Hey guys, welcome back. Carter BitsBeTrippin. This is part 9, the start of part 9, which is going to be the spreadsheet side. Kind of boring. However, if you're interested in understanding how crypto mining makes money, how you calculate what to mine, how to forecast, all of those kind of things, the kind of numbers part of the mining, not just the stuff that's in your head and you're trying to calculate is it's worth it or not. Should I go out there and buy a new piece of hardware? Like get it into a spreadsheet. That is what this video is today. So if you're interested in that kind of content, this might be the one that you want to probably start with to see even if you want to go through learning how to do stuff. Maybe next time I do a series like this, I'll start with let's do some basic calculations. And I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear on this, that it isn't about, like, everybody's like, oh, it's always about the money. There's a lot more to it. There's a whole bunch of ancillary stuff that comes around. Money is definitely a huge motivator in crypto, but I want to make sure that this is a balance of, if you start to really ramp up an operation, you got to take it to this level because you got to make sure that you're covering your ends and that you don't get into a debt type of situation with it. Like, this is you make a small investment, work your way up. That's the way I like to approach things with this. I would never, ever, ever, ever recommend anybody to take a huge debt position in anything. Something that is hugely speculative, like crypto, where you have a regulatory environment being like designed before us, like the government's going out and they're going through stuff right now. Understand that when you, the way you get to a larger farm is because you start to understand the way the numbers work and the best strategies to try to maximize during down times. So that is, this is a crawl, walk, run type of thing. I cannot express that any more deeper than that. And that's why this kind of deep dive gets you to that point. It seems like, man, I already know this on the top of my head, but if you want to scale up your operations, you really need to get to get in your particular situation plugged into a spreadsheet and figure out where you're at. We're going to get into that, but first, today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Asic Jungle, one of the largest providers of new and used ASICs. Their target audience is medium to larger mining farms, looking to add some extra units to their stack, but also has some interesting retail options for smaller buyers. Asic Jungle also has a dedicated OTC desk that provides a concierge-like service for larger orders. This is to help manage expectations on larger order requests. While ASIC batch supplies are limited, and as Asic Jungle continuously updates their inventory, they are ready to get on the phone with you and discuss your potential order. In the crypto world, this is rare, but a fabulous feature. If this sounds what you're currently looking for, drop by the site or give them a call. Tell them BitsBeTrippin sent you. All right, welcome back, guys. This is something that I've been wanting to go through with Ray here for since we really started this series, because we had a conversation understanding like passive income and have multiple streams of income. So one of the things that lead you probably to a video like this or to this series or try to understand is around revenue. And it's like people don't ever want to talk about it like online. They're like, oh, it's just a money grab, it's whatever. You are a service provider if you're mining cryptocurrency. You are providing a service for the security of a network and proof of work. That is what you're doing. And for your time that you invest in that and stuff, you get paid in a reciprocal token, right? It is nothing more, nothing less. Don't let anybody else tell you anything different. You're a service provider for security. You're paid in a token. Those tokens happen to be worth money. So let's get into how do you figure out what the tokens are worth? What's the spot price? Where's the volume? All that stuff. So the very first thing is, what are all the different tokens? And we're going to switch over to the screen. This is mostly going to be an on-screen video today. But I wanted to start it off with us on the screen as I go through and explain it to people. And we're on the laptop. So right now it's on the Mineable model. Don't mind that. We're going to go to the very first place. I like going to the mining pool stats and trying to understand, first off, what can you mine? Right? Mining pool stats is a good place to start. They do show kind of USD value of something, you know, in a particular thing. And it always starts, you know, well, it's going straight to the URL I had put in, which is Ethereum. And, you know, this shows network hash rate, total network hash rate. Right now, it looks like it's about 604 terahash. And of that, we know what 590 terahash is. Now, where that's relevant, you know, this is just for Ethereum. Well, each one of these are going to show you that kind of thing. Now they're tagged on what type of devices usually mine them. And mind you, you'll see ETH hash is on, it says ASIC, but a lot of it is GPUs too, but it does have ASICs on it. So first off, you get a punch list here. So these are mineable coins. So there are other sites that will show you a whole bunch of coins like Cardano and XRP and all these other different tokens that are out there on the top 100. If I go to like Coin Market Cap, I'm trying to make sure that people understand the difference of things that you can mine and then things you cannot mine, right? So if you're using hardware, the first question is, what can I even mine, right? And so the sites like this will have, or at least they used to have a filter here that would show like mineable coins. We can go into the filter here. Here we go. And we can say, so there's a platform. Nope. Let's look in here. Proof of work. Okay. So the algorithm types are designed around, what are they? Are they DAG based, which is like a database? Just think of it like a database. Is it DPoS, which is distributed proof of stake? Hybrids, which is a little bit of proof of work, a little bit of proof of stake. And what that means is as blocks are made, some blocks are proof of work, some blocks are proof of stake. Then you have proof of stake, which you don't mine. You need the coin on a validator to make it work. And then you have proof of work. Okay. So if we sort their proof of work list, it's going to give us just proof of work coins in general. So that's a first key piece. Now, I usually skip this part of looking in like Coin Market Cap because I want to get more information right out of the gate. All this is telling me is price and if it's a proof of work coin. What I care about is, can I mine it with a GPU? Can I mine it with an ASIC? Do I need a different device for that? Whatever. And then what's the current hash rates of these things? So on this site is listed based on not the coin type, it's made on the algorithm type, as we were talking earlier in the videos. So ETH hash is the algorithm. If I went to A6 and I went to SHA-256, that's like Bitcoin. Here's all the SHA-256 things. So where we would have questions from people about, well, I want a Bitcoin miner. Actually, it's a SHA-256 miner that happens to be a Bitcoin miner is the best return you're going to get on it. But technically, you could repoint that to any of these networks, right? So if we go to ETH hash does have ASIC miners, but most of it is GPU. And the way that you would be able to find that and figure that out is if you had really good power rate, like the power rate where we're at right now is anywhere from 8 cents to 10 cents in this area. Up at the farm, we're about 6 cents, a little over 6 cents. If you have the most efficient GPU you can find, and you have some of the best power costs you can find, and you are still not profitable, there's a high chance that ASICs have taken over the network, right? Because it's like, well, what other devices are doing that? Surely they're not all these people are mining at a loss. Well, what they're doing is you find out like, wow, I'm not getting hardly anything for my hash power. So that's where you can, and that's why we know that GPUs are still profitable for Ethereum. Thereby this tagging is not to be confused that it's only ASIC only. It is GPUs also. So that's the first thing is, okay, now let's just say we've established, let's just stay on ETH as this example through the whole thing today. So we know we can mine ETH. Cool story. What are the variables in that? The variables that matter is total network hash rate.
Right.
And the change of that, because as that goes up, when network hash rate goes up, yields decrease, right? Because then you're competing with everybody else for that hash rate. Price offsets some of the USD risk where like if price stayed the same and yields got less, you make less money, right? When it comes to a USD value. If USD price is going up for the coin and hash rate's going up, which is what usually happens, right? Price goes up, so more people want to mine, their hash rate goes up. Rarely do you have an event where price goes up and hash rate goes down. That's like having your cake and eating it too. And that's what happened with Bitcoin mining whenever China banned it, right? All these Bitcoin miners turned off, and here's Bitcoin price starting to go back up.
Right.
This is when hash rate should be coming online. So the people that had already mining machines were getting a lot more yield and the price was going up. Like it was amazing, right? So that rarely happens. It takes some kind of existential event, something else that causes pressure to shut down miners or something, right?
Right.
Like a country coming in with like guns and banning you. So that's a thing. Or if there's some kind of natural event, natural disaster,
Right.
hurricane, typhoon, something happens that takes down an area. There was flooding in China a couple of years ago that took out a whole bunch of mining farms, and you could see the dip because of that. But that's really what it affects. So it's important to understand hash rate, and this is going to go into the calculations that we're about to do. So that's why I'm trying to make sure everybody understands that. And then the difficult, you'll see hash rate, and then you see difficult. All the difficulty is a calculation of what the problem, the proof of work problem,
Right.
how difficult that problem needs to be predicated on the hash rate. So as more hash rate comes out, that means it can solve more content faster, right? So it has to up the difficulty. So you have this natural correlation with hash rate goes up, difficulty goes up, hash rate goes down, difficulty goes down. The only exception out there is in Ethereum, where they have what was called a poison pill built into the system. And this poison pill is called the difficult bomb. So all proof of work is predicated on the amount of hash power that's on it and how difficult the problem goes up. It swings because what it's trying to do is target a specific block time. So in Ethereum, it's every 15 seconds, and in Bitcoin, it's every 10 minutes. It tries to dial that this difficulty here, right here, it tries to dial that number to where the calculated hash rate is fast enough to where it should be able to solve that block in 15 seconds. Does that make sense? So somebody in the world, probability wise, is going to solve that solution, and your average block time is going to remain around, in Ethereum around 15 seconds or so. Sometimes it's down to 13 seconds. It just depends. Bitcoin, same thing, right? So the only difference on that mechanism changing is the difficulty adjusts in Ethereum very quickly. In Bitcoin, it's every like 1,024 blocks. So you could get a situation where trying to shut down when it did, and until we had to wait for the next difficulty adjustment.
Right.
That meant that block times were. I mean, I think when they first started shutting off, block times went as long as 50 minutes, which slows everything down.
Right.
So you're working on it. Nobody's getting paid because they're waiting to try. Literally, the entire world's trying to solve this super complex problem with maybe 30% less hash power.
Right.
So a lot of coins, because they're not as stable on the amount of hash rate sometimes, like coins that mine on GPUs, this is one of the counterpoints with GPUs sometimes, is that it's very fickle. Meaning if the price of Ravencoin shoots through the moon, anybody with GPUs are going, why am I mining Ethereum? They're going to switch over to Ravencoin. Well, then you'll have a dip in Ravencoin mining hash rate. Right. So that's why you have also a lot of different algorithms out there, because other coins wanted to differentiate the risk somewhat on having things across FPGAs, ASICs, CPUs, and GPUs, right? So Monero doesn't want to compete with everybody on GPUs and ASICs and all this.
Right.
So they have a particular algorithm that is only CPU centric. It's most efficient. It's called RandomX, and it's a very CPU, just a computer chip heavy, and that's where it tries to compete with. So I'm giving you some basic context when we get into pricing and how things work with that, because these are all things that matter. Well, why doesn't people mine Monero if the numbers make more sense? It's you can't mine Monero with GPUs. You mine it with CPUs. So
right.
It all comes down to what people are going to do there. All right, so let's get into basic model. And actually, I'm going to use probably just basic Excel versus going right into the mining model, because this will set up. So the things that we care about when we're trying to figure out is, and your first one, you don't have to go out there and create your own tool for this, right? I've done with the mining model. You literally go out there and say, what is the machine I have? And then what's it going to do? So you could go to WhatToMine, and you could this will already pre-calculate some basic settings based on what you have out here. So you go out there, and let's say that machine we had built, or we have in the back here, it's a 6-card 580 rig, right? So if I enable that, it's going to say 580s. The moment I click that red button with that 6, it went in and adjusted what my relative output with a decent configuration should do across all these algorithms. So we know that we're getting about 82 to 84 mega hash because we're a little more optimized than this on those 6580s, and it thinks that we would be using about 1,020 watts. We're actually using about 940 on like so we're a little more optimized than this, but that's okay. This is a good balancing baseline for you to understand. So if I hit calculate, this is going to show me in real time from its current data, based on all those figures, what is the most efficient, what's the most that I can make on that particular rig at this particular time. So on this, you can see right here to look through this. Because I mean, when people see this, they're like, man, there's a lot of data. Am I looking at it? So let's go from the left to the right. So block time, block reward, and last block. Block time's averaging 13.49 seconds. Block reward has been averaging 2.1 points per block. And I'm going to show you why that all is relevant. And then this last block height, you don't really care about that as long as you're like, is this reading the most current data? So you could go out there and cross-reference the latest block that they're on. Because if this block was 100 blocks, you're like, wait a minute, this data is based on, 269 ending block. That was 25 minutes. It's 100 blocks. If you take 15-second block time roughly on Ethereum, 25 minutes, that's 4 per minute. You do the math on 100, it's 25 minutes. So you could figure out if you're at the block height. Most people kind of ignore it and just accept the fact that it's good to understand how things work. Net hash and difficulty, they're just giving you the calculation of how are they calculating it. So you can just cross-reference that. Again, you're just taking the assumption that they're doing that correctly. And then it's going to come through the rewards that you get. So as far as the rewards, so the top reward and the estimated 24-hour reward, right? Which it looks like those might be flipped. Estimated 24-hour reward. So it's like 0.0047 of an F. So you take the price of that and you look at the price versus Bitcoin. This is in Satoshis, and then bottom line, you'll be earning on that machine about $13 revenue, roughly. Yes, per day on that machine. And if you look at NiceHash, if you had this configured and you were selling it into Bitcoin, you would be getting a little less, but you'd be getting that in Bitcoin, right? So you'd be getting $12.87 of Bitcoin. And mind you, that's your I don't think that's calculating your I don't think they actually calculate your cost here. Let me look here on like your power cost. Yeah, they are. They're doing it based on profitability last 24 hours. So they're sorting it by last 24 hours at 10 cents per kilowatt. So if I change this 12 cents, calculated should drop these numbers. Oh, the bottom number is less your power. That's what it is. I think this is gross revenue, and then this is your other, because that's the second number there. So they are giving you the delta there of like what your power cost is. I don't actually use this as much. I build my own spreadsheets for it, but this is a good tool for a beginner, for somebody that's out there that wants to know. And I'll tell you why I built the spreadsheet. You'll see it in a little bit, because there's a lot more data that I want to be able to pull in there and I want to calculate. But this is a good way from just a spot check on a particular rig or a particular set of cards to understand what at this current time is probably the most that you could point to. Now, if you look here, those rewards, 0.0047 of a Ethereum, right? And Ethereum, if you had a 1.0 in there, you would have what the Ethereum full price would be.
Right.
So in Ravencoin, if we look at Ravencoin on that same rig, you would be earning. It's estimating that we'd be earning around 70 Ravencoin per day.
Yeah.
And that's pretty close to what it's been.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago it was about 100, right? But Ravencoin's hash rate, if I come in here to go back and look, I hit this little guy here to go and look at the I think it's under various algo. No, it's under Ravencoin is, let's just do it this way. You can always go up here, Ravencoin, and click it. you can see that Ravencoin there, this is a 6-month difficulty swing here. You can see its difficulty really drop down, to where in its hash rate. So the hash rate would be the same thing here. But you can get it from a difficulty. It was way low and now it's started to creep back up. So, its difficulty sitting at 112K. A couple weeks ago it was half that, right?
Yeah.
So our rewards went from like 40 Raven per day down to 70 in that particular case. So that's where you can kind of get a punch list, and you could check other cards and stuff. And what I've recommended, like I was when we were at Micro Center, the time I went to Micro Center without you, people always come up, and there was a person that actually came up to us when we were in Micro Center,
right,
introducing themselves. But they were literally the person that was standing there when I was there. They had their like Samsung Note 10 like up, and they had WhatToMine up, and they were literally putting in like 2 of these. What did I get? And they were trying to figure out what their most efficient card was. But that's where this is really, you could just come here and just say, oh, they have a 3060 Ti in there. What's the most? Because they're trying to figure out their baseline. But this is where this also gives you exposure to what you could mine from a profitability across these different coins, right? Because that big list on this side is great to know, but this isn't telling you is it worth it or not. Right? This is telling you what you can look at. This is telling you based on the current settings, if you were to use a particular card, what is there and what's the output of it.
Right.
And what's the percentage from the best thing that you're losing at, right? So like, let's say you wanted to go long on, for whatever reason, Beam or Vertcoin or something like that. This is where I was saying in the last video where you could be mining Ethereum and they're just selling it into Vertcoin, and you would actually get more Vertcoin.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're earning more here. So then you just roll it into here. You're getting double the Vertcoin almost.
Right.
Right. So you're like, oh, I can mine Vert and get 11 Vertcoin or 12 Vertcoin, or I can get 24 if I just sold my ETH into it. Now you would get a little less because you have a transaction fee on ETH and all that kind of stuff, but there is strategy to those kind of things, right? If you're, but it's really the difference if you're getting a particular coin, or if you're trying to just maximize your USD value from like a passive income side. But that's one thing to set up and understand kind of where to go to calculate. Now, why do we use spreadsheets and that sort of thing? So the mining model here, which we'll have in the link in the description, is an iterative update thing that I've been just creating more and more slides or more and more tabs to kind of explain certain situations. There is a new version of this coming out that I've been working on. It's going to be 3.2. In this video, you'll see that it's 3.1. And a lot of this is still super functional. I have a lot of GPU testing that I've done in here of, a particular GPU type. I also started adding the URLs to when I tested these. That way the people could get to videos to like, oh, I got a Zotac 3060 Ti. What can it do? Oh, I can actually hit the video where they went and did this at, right? So that's kind of cool. And then what I got with what settings, which then give you ability to go in there and adjust your settings to kind of get a calculation step. But then this has got, some basic analysis on, let's get over to like the model. This pulls real time for just Ethereum right now. So it's giving us it's pulling the real time price of Bitcoin right now, and it's pulling the real time price of Ethereum. It does an API, which is just a connection out to the internet to pull in the right information. And then it gives a basic exchange rate there. It gives us our current block reward. It's going to do an API call for that, a hash rate and difficulty. And then you can come in here and alter your change in price settings, of like how much you spend, what's your current
power,
power cost. Yeah. So you can come in here and say, oh shit, ours is 12 cents per kilowatt. Now it's going to come in there and just change all your power. And you could say, how long is your machine going to operate per day? Right. Because some people might play video games, right? They come home, they bang out a few games, and then let their machine cook all night, overnight, and then go to work, and then come back home, play 6 hours or something, right? So you could come in here and say, well, this is uptime is 18 hours. Well, then that will then go and calculate your steps there. So the we'll just leave it on 24 for right now, and then I might have broke some of those because it wasn't making a change there, but we'll see. I might have broke it whenever I was updating it, but to 3.2, but we will make sure that that's fixed. But then this gives you kind of some basic setups. So here, if you read over here, like high end card, single PC, what's total cost, what's its output, and then what's it earn, and it's calculating it from these figures here. And I leave all the formulas in there for everybody can figure out what the formulas are. But it's just a one-stop shop, real quick to start to figure out. And it's using the same calculation steps there. Additionally, I got some historical data in here in the spreadsheet for you guys to be able to see. And you can see, I brought in like the beginning history of like Bitcoin, Ravencoin, Ethereum history. If there's other history that people want, I can add more history in here. But this allows us to see, where is it? The what if model. This is one of my favorite parts of this. So a lot of people are like, man, I thought about mining back in 2018. I thought about mining whatever. Well, the data that I have goes back to, let's see, historical data. I have not automated this in this version, but I am automating it in the next version. So this goes back to, it ends, let's see here, at 7/31. So the beginning, right before the beginning of August. So I haven't added in August data here yet. But what this does is you can go back, this is like torture, but you can go back and say, well, if I used a 570 and I had a count of 6 of them, and I had a system power of 970 watts, let's just say, right? And that shows the total power. Oh, sorry, system power, not that much. That's system power would be 120 watts. It's already doing the calculation. So let's say it's total system, it's 189 mega hash using 630 watts. Actually, the system is about 180 here. That's more like it. And you had 10 kilowatts per hour, and you had, let's say, 80% uptime. Right? Let's say it feels like it's running 24/7, but you have weekends that maybe it was down or whatever.
Right.
Let's just say over a long period of time, if you did it at the start of ETH's price at 2019, you would have earned 7.9 ETH. You would have earned $25,000 in ETH up through at least August of this year. So you'd have earned 7.9 ETH in that much time. If you would have bought it at the peak, a lot of people are really worried about buying at peak times. This here shows that even at peak times, when you go in what's called a long tail, if you hold it through a couple events where it's pulled down and it's gotten to a very bearish market when it's really low, like
right.
ultimate peak.
Yeah.
Remember, bear markets typically on GPU mined coins cause the hash rate to go way down. What that means is one, your hardware's cheaper to buy, and two, it means your yield is a lot higher.
Right.
You get a lot more coins. So if you built this machine at the peak in 2017, which is December, and then it doesn't matter that Ethereum went from $2,000 down to $86. What that meant is less people were mining. You would have earned 63 ETH using that machine, and that would have been $206,000 worth on a single computer, on a single machine with 6 GPUs. If you were just continuous, you didn't care, you just mined 63 ETH. And the way where this is calculating, you guys can follow the calculation steps here. So the calculation is pulling it from the historical data here, and it's pulling it from the daily average profitability per mega hash. So what it takes is it looks at the difficulty. It looks at your hash rate at a typical hash rate, what it costs, what's the profitability of a single mega hash, and it divides that all the way down. And then you get a figure, you get an aggregate figure for every day based on median price and median difficulty.
Yeah.
And that's how it's calculating that. And this is the kind of stuff to show the reason why you'd want to ever do this. I mean, I did this for the funsies, just to see like what would this machine, if I kept it on, actually generated.
Right.
Not that this machine would have ever been able to do it from the start of Ethereum when we were able to mine back in September of 2015. It doesn't matter on the machine thing right here. Of the types of cards, but it all comes back down to mega hash. So if you built a machine that could do 180 mega hash back then, you would have earned 2,700 Ethereum, $8.9 million worth of Ethereum.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. So you can see here that the whole point here is understanding the numbers. Understanding the numbers means you understand the cause and effect in the system, and you don't get emotional in the system. If you're understanding the fact that all we're doing is providing a security blanket for a network, Ethereum's going to move to a proof of stake security blanket at some point. That's fine. There's other networks out there that are using GPUs for security blankets.
Right.
They are compensating you in a native token.
Right.
That token may be worth more later on. It may be worth less. There's other instances out there where some coins have been worth less, right?
Right.
Understanding that the calculations in there are really key if you want to do something that's called forecasting. So you're trying to forecast moving forward, like what's happening. That's where like this GPU network analysis is. Now it says March on this, but I have updated this pretty recently, where I was trying to understand, take all the numbers from like this mining pool stats. You look at each one of these, you start going through the major networks, right? Like Eternity, Grin, all these different networks, and you start looking at their network size, right? You look at like 9.4 thousand, graphs per second. Well, what's a graph per second translate to a particular GPU? So I have to find a basis here of estimate, but that's what this is doing. It's saying that if I take a standard 3080, which is a pretty high-end graphics card, right? And I calculate if it gets, 100 mega hash on Ethereum, what's it get on these other types of tokens, right?
Right.
And then I can create an algebra problem to figure out, well, what's their total network size, right? Well, if their network size, this is how many 3080s that could be on that network. It's just taking a baseline of one of the most efficient things. I'm shooting for the most efficient because there's a high chance that that's the upper tell of the calculation. That's the upper tell of this calculation, where I know I am underestimating greatly, or I'm overestimating, rather, not under. I'm overestimating that the efficiency of that transfer. Like if ETH went away, where does this go to, right? Because ETH right now in this calculation, just looking at network numbers, is about 77% of all the known GPUs that are potentially mining these other networks. Right. If I take all the sum of all these networks and I put them together, that's what that blue box is that's ETH in that stack. And it looks at what's the total amount of all, hash rate out there. And then how much is on ETH, how much is on NiceHash, which is agnostic. Remember, NiceHash is a broker. That's where you sell your hash rate to let somebody else use it.
Yeah.
And they pay you in Bitcoin. So you got to take that as into calculation. And then you take in all the other algorithms combined. And when I did this snapshot, this is a couple months ago, when I did this snapshot, there was about 80 quote unquote 80 terahash worth of hash rate out there being used. And then at that time, Ethereum was about 400 terahash. And then there was about 41 out there setting on NiceHash equivalent. And that's NiceHash, all the NiceHash's total availability, right? So you look at where does things go once Ethereum goes away. Now you can see, like, can these coins support that network? And this is one of the biggest concerns from people is, like, if I'm going out and buying new hardware, and ETH is the most profitable thing to mine.
Right.
And then that's 80%, potential hash rate is spread across this. Mm-hmm. This one, this chart here, the reason why it's saying 84 versus the 77 here is I'm just looking at total hash rate, agnostic to the fact that it's NiceHash in this. I'm considering NiceHash in here just being spread into it. So what's going to happen there, in that particular scenario? And that's why I go to the next step, and that's why it's nice knowing these numbers, is I start looking at, like, well, what if, let's go over here. That's where this kind of comes in, where Ravencoin comes in. I use Ravencoin as an example. Like, if all things being equal, that was a factual statement, for me to get to the required profitability level that ETH's outputting right now, what does the coin have to be? First figure you look at is what's break even, and then you have to figure out some figures. What's break even for the networks moving over? Well, break even would be I'm paying 10 cents per kilowatt, 8 cents per kilowatt, and my machines are running, and I'm making just enough to pay for my power. Now that's That sucks. Like that, what's the point of that, right?
Right.
But it all comes back down to what's that first break even number? Because some people will just pay the power and just still have some yield, right? And then what does it take to get to the relative output of Ethereum? Now this calculation was taking a fixed number here of what the block reward was. Let's see here. So block reward, it's going to here. Ethereum reward is of 16. We know our Ethereum reward of 4. We know that that's not the current step. We know it's 2.4 right now. So 2.4 means that Ethereum's block versus, it being 15 seconds means there's 4 blocks per minute, right? Every 15 seconds, 15 times 4 is 1 minute. The reason why that's relevant is Ravencoin's block as this example. And mind you, we could do this with Ergo. We could do this with any coin. I'm just using Ravencoin because we already have it built here.
Yeah.
So Ravencoin gives 5,000 coins per block, right? A lot more coins.
Right.
So it doesn't have to have at near the price level to be able to get its profitability up. So right now, Ethereum's reward every 1 minute based on 9.6 coins per minute, because that's the 2.4 that we're earning as miners up to a minute. This is this, and then this is the output based on price. So Ethereum per minute has the ability right now to generate $31,000 USD per minute for the mining network on the world. And this is why there's millions of people mining, or hundreds of thousands at least mining. Ravencoin right now, every 1 minute can output about $700. Not a huge thing. And that's at current Ravencoin price. So the first thing I go and look at is like, well, what's that price need to get to? So you look at these things, these figures here, it's going to be B1 times this. So it's looking at that times this current Ravencoin price, which is 13 cents. Let's say we change that up a little bit. What's it going to take price-wise? So if I do the same thing here, I look at this times this price, which is the Satoshi values. So here, enter. Okay. So 910 Satoshi, which is 44 cents. So let's say Ravencoin went to 44 cents. Actually, let's even change this because this is a change. Is this the changeable number? Let's see here. This is the changeable number. 340, I think, is what the Satoshi value is right now. Enter. Nope, it's a little less than that. 310. So like if you are on an exchange and you were looking to buy a Raven, you do it at the Satoshi value, which is Raven's price versus Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So it's that many Satoshis per Raven. And then you take the Bitcoin price of that times USD to get the, right? So let's say it's 290 right now. It's like 13 cents or something, right? It's 280. All right. That's pretty close, right? 13 cents, 6.3. Let's just call it, okay, 280 Satoshis. And that's pretty close to what we were there. So let's say it goes to, Ravencoin's all-time high in Satoshi value was around 1,200 Satoshis, okay? Now, that was when Bitcoin's price was around like 2 or 3K. So that would be 58 cents, okay? That would still, at 58 cents, that's $2,900.
Yeah.
Okay. To give you an idea of what that, like $2,900 output, when Ethereum's price was like $800, let's just call it $800, right? And it had no extra really transaction fees included because there just wasn't volume. Let's just say that was the 8 coins. So it was 2 coins per block, 4 blocks per minute. So you'd have 8 total coins. You'd have an output of this times this. So its original, when it was like 800, it was like $6,400. Okay. When its price was $86, 688. March of 2020, peak of when COVID went down, everything crashed. Like the market crashed, everything was going hell in a handbasket.
Right.
Max bull market at the time, or max bear market at the time. Ethereum went all the way down to $86. At that point, the network was setting at about 150 terahash. Okay, total size. So when we talk terahash, we're talking back here, right? ETH. We come back here, right? So max terahash at that time, this number here, was about 150.
Yeah.
It was still profitable for just a few people. Like it wasn't huge, and it was mostly ASIC profitability from anywhere. So give you an idea. So we were at Ravencoin at 681 right now, effectively is like Ethereum and its worst time. And it could support 150 terahash. 150 terahash conversion to Ravencoin, because Ravencoin's about let's say 60% of that in efficiency. You remember when we mine something with the 6600, it's 32 mega hash, but when we mine it with the Ravencoin, it's like 13 and a half, 14. So just you do the math there. So if 150 terahash came over from Ethereum, then it's like 75 terahash, okay, to like Ravencoin in that particular case. That would be the same equivalent of where Ravencoin's sitting right now if the pricing stayed the same. So it would become, if Ravencoin shot up to that, it would become only profitable for a few people, not everybody. So the price would have to go up to be able to absorb at least 100, or at least equivalent to 150 terahash from Ethereum. Right now it's setting at like 7 terahash. Okay, so it has a long way to go from that. It peaked at like maybe 11 or 12 terahash back in May when it was 27 cents. And it actually was more profitable to mine Raven at 27 cents at 11 terahash than it was when Ethereum was, right, at $30,000 because the hash rate hadn't caught up with it. So that's where I'm trying to, I know I'm going through a lot of numbers right now, but I'm trying to let people understand that the network output versus its hash rate, its total hash rate really matters. So when hash rate flies up, if price doesn't follow it, you're just it's gonna tell. It's like just pulling up on a stick on a plane. It's gonna stall out and then it's gonna come crashing down. Okay, that price either adjust or hash rate will just stop. Like people will come off of it. So let's play a game of what does it need to get to, like to really take on. Like what would it have to be $31,000, right? Let's look at 5,000 terahash or 5,000 Satoshis. 5,000 Satoshis would be $2.40. That would then drive that price to here. Here's the figure here. I think I changed it on us here. Yeah, so it'd be $12,000. So that would be its output at at $2 and that many cents at 5,000 coins per block. Okay, so 12,000 Satoshis. $5.40. $5.84 would be close right there. So to have the exact same financial potential output per minute for the Ethereum network, the price would have to be close to almost $6 per Ravencoin. It's at 14 cents right now. And that's literally just the math, right? There's a whole bunch of other figures that can go into that. The fact that the efficiency of GPUs moving over are not one-to-one to Ethereum, like some GPUs are more efficient than others. It would create a different class of card value in that case, where NVIDIA would have a little more nod to it, or the newer RDNA, the latest AMD stuff would have a nod to it. But that's effectively right now as the price stands out. Now this all changes a little bit predicated on this Satoshi value changes, predicated on a Bitcoin price, because it's all based on Bitcoin price. Right. Bitcoin price, I'm just going to break this formula right now, and this is an example. But if Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin price goes to $65,000, well, your Satoshi value doesn't need to get to that. That'd be $39,000, right? So it's all relative against Bitcoin because it calculates. And then that would be equivalent to $7.80. Now you'd be back down to like 8,000 Satoshis. But it is kind of a sea rises all boats, because the sea rises all boats means let's go back to 340. I'll just use that as an example. 22 cents there at $65,000. If I go Control Z, change that back. Okay. If I went down to here, 340. and let's say we get back up to 16 cents, 340 Satoshis at that price. If that stayed at 340 Satoshis on the exchanges, and it doesn't move, it's just like, oh, well, it's just sitting there at that thing. And Bitcoin goes to 65,000. 340 Satoshis now is worth 22 cents. And this is where traders get really messed up sometimes when they're sitting there trading around and they're trading into altcoins and stuff, is because something happens where you come out into one and the Satoshi value doesn't move, or it does move, you know, downward, and then the other one's going up. And like, now you're like, oh crap, you know, I get screwed on the exchange transaction side. So, but those are the numbers, right? And that's why I'm iterating. It's like the value versus Bitcoin to understand Satoshi value. That's a key metric. Understanding network size and how it affects your hash rate. That's a key factor. If anything changes with like block times or anything like that, like with Ethereum, I think I kind of skipped over that difficult bomb. I just said the difficult bomb. I never explained what the difficult bomb does. So the difficult bomb is when you're not for Ethereum. I'm kind of jumping back around, but here we can switch screens real quick and we'll wrap this one up because we're right at 40 minutes. Let's go back over main. So we'll end on Ethereum's difficult bomb. So when I was saying there's only one network that has an adjustment. So that poison pill that they had put in was to try to force miners to follow changes in the network. I'm gonna drop that stuff over there. Yeah. It's to force miners to follow the network. So what they would do is they would say, we're going to decouple your block time, your calculation where we're setting the difficulty. We're going to decouple it from mining. And we're just going to start artificially stair-stepping it up, which is going to slow the block time down. Right. So what they're trying to do is poison the network to where, hey, you're just never going to get paid because it's going to get so difficult. So you got to listen to us, and you got to take that new thing. Problem is you're also poisoning all the users on the network, right? And that's happened twice with it. Because their updates are on like very monolithic. Monolithic is like they're like semi-annual, like big bang events. Like you have to wait. It's not iterative like every week. Right. So sometimes the difficult bomb would kick off, and it was just stair-step difficulty, right? And then everybody's like, man, my transactions are taking almost a minute now, and Ethereum's supposed to be 15 seconds. Yeah. So people build a whole bunch of functionality around 15-second block time, and then now you're not getting a delay. You're getting these delays because there's this artificial thing pushing up difficulty, which all it's doing means that all the information is not getting processed as fast. So they have to keep kicking the can down the road until they go to proof of stake. So they've just re-update the dates on that. But that's the only thing that decouples you, and it kind of breaks the model a little, because now it's not based on 15 seconds. It's based on however long it takes people to solve blocks. So that was just that quick answer there for anybody that wanted to know that. But this is, I mean, there's so much more to this, but like that's a good primer on the details of the spreadsheet. We'll have the link down below, guys. And I've updated a couple times since March with some of the data, but a lot of the numbers are all real time updated. But we'll pull in the latest information, and then we'll get them to you guys. So make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Hopefully you guys like this series. I know that they're a little longer. I know they're 45 minutes and 40 minutes, but it's hard to do an information dense type of thing like this without explaining around it and making sure that you get it. And do you think you're picking it up?
Yep, definitely.
I mean, like, do you have any questions on stuff right now? You probably do, but you just have to.
No, not really. I mean, besides like the numbers are pretty confusing, like, but I understand like where the numbers are coming from. Mm-hmm. So it's
like, I'm gonna put you on the spot for just a second, like because I'm trying to understand how better to make sure I'm presenting the information to you. Like, so like if you were asking a question, if you're looking at that, what would be one that you have on trying to understand? Like if you're trying to make something. I put him on the spot.
I don't know. Just how it all relates to Bitcoin would probably be like the biggest question.
Yeah, so it's on the relating to Bitcoin is just a calculation. So Bitcoin has a price. So Bitcoin's price right now, I got typed in here as 65,000. So it's just doing a division to get this Satoshi number. So it takes the price.
Taking the Bitcoin price.
So it's taken here. I'll walk it through right here. So it's taken, if I do equals and I do let's see here, this Bitcoin price divided by this,
which is the Raven price.
Right, Raven price. Nope, the other way around. This price divided by this price is giving me the Satoshi value.
Okay.
So if we can go over here with these, so right there's your Satoshi. So it's 9 positions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9 positions. That the farthest right position is a Satoshi.
Yeah.
That's 340 Satoshi. So it's just the division of the price, this price versus this price.
Yeah, and it's giving you a Satoshi price, and that just converts it to US dollar.
Yeah, because you can find out, like, and the only reason why you even have this Satoshi price is because exchanges have to have something to exchange it against. So instead of doing everything based in USD on an exchange,
they do it in Satoshi.
They do it in Satoshi, and so Bitcoin is a thing. So then you create this whole other now calculation step.
Right.
Well, how many Satoshis is it? Now, does that mean anything to anybody outside of an exchange? Not to the normal people out in the world. Like, they don't understand, and nor should they, because it's not the cost basis of where everything is.
Yeah.
Cost basis is based on a stable coin, a US dollar, single $1. And we have an understanding of what $1 is. So then we can calculate what everything else costs.
Right.
Right. So we can figure out, hey, a car is $20,000. A fully loaded truck these days for some reason are $90,000. Right. We can figure that out. Now, exchanges always started with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then they look at what's the price relative in the exchange to this other thing, because it wasn't being denominated in US dollars. So that's where the Satoshi value comes in.
Okay.
And why, since things are kind of predicated on that, people are thinking of like, well, what's the exchange rate against Satoshi? And when you're looking at buying Raven at 240 Satoshis versus buying Raven at 500 Satoshis, you know that you're getting more for your Bitcoin when it's lower, because you can get more units for less Satoshis.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing of saying that the US dollar price is lower and you're going to get for your thing there. So that's, I mean, it's a good question. It's a valid, like, I look right past it because I'm so used to working Satoshis, but we wanted to make sure we had at least one in there. I'll let you get by with just the one there. Because I know there's a lot of questions in there, and there's a lot to where to even start with, but awesome. All right, my dudes, we're going to wrap this one up. It's almost now an hour after the ad and the other things. So we'll get back to you guys here this week, and stay tuned. Make sure you're liking, man. Like, hit those likes, my dudes. Like, it really helps the algorithm. We're trying to get to 100,000 before December, or before the beginning of the year. I would love to get a button right behind me with you guys. So thanks, and I'll catch you guys in a bit.
Peace.
Peace.